Two stories just broke within 24 hours of each other, and if you're a Democrat strategist right now, you should be horrified. We've got a political earthquake coming out of the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, the one state Democrats cannot afford to lose. And we've got one of the single most prominent Democrat strategists saying he's done. He, like Fetterman, just went on national television and said he's ready to walk out the door. He's had it with the demise of the Democrats. Gang, losing a state and losing a party is exactly what a political coalition looks like when it starts to collapse. And you are about to get a front row seat. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, celebrating yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. If you don't know, no Democrat has won the White House in the modern era without carrying Pennsylvania's 19 electoral votes as part of their coalition. Pennsylvania was central to Clinton's successful campaign, to Obama's campaign. We knew Hillary and Kamala lost the moment Pennsylvania was announced for Trump. It was over. There's no viable way for a Democrat to hit the magic number of 270 without the Keystone State, a state that blends industrial Rust Belt towns, suburban Philadelphia moderates, and deep red rural counties in one of the most competitive battlegrounds in the country. So, needless to say, the Democrats' ultimate electoral nightmare would be if Pennsylvania were to flip permanently red. Were that to happen, the math of the Democrat path to 270 electoral votes becomes literally impossible. It is devastating. That's not hyperbole. It's arithmetic. And it's absolutely deadly for the Democrats' prospects to ever occupy the White House again. Now, for years, the Democrats have clung to a very noticeable and very consistent shrinking voter registration advantage in the Keystone State. Back in 2016, the Democrats had a near 11-point voter registration advantage over the Republicans, nearly 1 million more registered voters. In a matter of 10 years, that million voter advantage has evaporated in real time. As of March of 2026, Democrats held just a 1.9% registration advantage, roughly about 170,000 voters. Republicans have been closing that gap methodically, consistently for a decade, flipping key swing counties like Bucks County, Luzerne County along the way, counties that went from solid Democrat territory to Republican registration advantages within a matter of years. But then, the news that just broke, literally hours ago, is the Democrats' worst nightmare come true. Republicans in Pennsylvania just picked up, I kid you not, over 30,000 net voters in one single week after Pennsylvania purged tens of thousands of shady Democrat registrations, many of them out of Philly. Just hours ago, voter registration activist Scott Pressler announced that Pennsylvania's Department of State just conducted one of the largest voter roll purges in its history. And the overwhelming majority of names removed were Democrats. It was a literal Democrat voter registration bloodbath. The Democrat statewide voter registration edge just got cut in half in a single day. Pressler posted these words. He couldn't contain himself. Quote, "I'm in tears. I'm screaming. The Pennsylvania Department of State just conducted one of its biggest purges ever. Democrats lost tens of thousands of voters. It's happening. It's actually happening." And what's actually happening there is that we are now just 25,000 active voters away from officially flipping Pennsylvania red. It's not just the lowest Democrat registration advantage in modern history. It literally represents the death knell of the Democrat Party as an executive political power in the nation, since the Democrats simply cannot win the White House without Pennsylvania. Now, you know exactly why the Democrats are doing everything they possibly can to prevent voter rolls from going public or getting purged. You could see it, right? For years, Democrats and their allies in the legacy media insisted these inflated rolls were harmless, that dead people and people who moved states away weren't actually being counted. They weren't actually influencing outcomes. Oh, no, nothing to see here, right? Investigative reporting, of course, has told a very different story. The Department of Homeland Security's preliminary findings identified at least 14,576 non-citizens on Pennsylvania's voter rolls, while Judicial Watch has reported as of November 2025, that number actually could be as high as 100,000. Add in the tens of thousands of voters who had moved out of state but still remain registered, and you start to understand why Pennsylvania Democrats have reportedly fought so hard in court against these very reforms that the Trump administration, citizen groups like Scott Pressler's, have been pushing. This is why the timing matters. Every single roll cleanup is shrinking a Democrat advantage that reports argue have been artificially inflated by fraud, non-citizen registrations, and simple negligence for years. And every voter removed from those rolls is a voter that can no longer be counted on to pad Democrat turnout totals in a razor-thin swing state. And keep in mind, as we noted, this has been going on for years now, for over a decade. More and more and more Pennsylvanians have been registering Republican. Democrat strategist James Carville likes to describe Pennsylvania as Philadelphia on the one side, Pittsburgh on the other, with Alabama in between, right? Isn't that great? Well, many of those Appalachian Pennsylvanians, like Alabama Pennsylvanians, they were registered Democrats for decades. But they tended to vote Republican, but they were still registered Democrat until now. More and more, particularly rural Pennsylvanians, are abandoning the Democrats and going full MAGA Republican in their registration. So this is why Pennsylvania is often referred to as the new Ohio, because that's exactly what Ohio went through a few years back. They were a purple state. They were a swing state that voted for Bush twice, and then they voted for Obama twice. But now they have such a massive Republican voter registration advantage that Trump won Ohio three times by double-digit margins. Pennsylvania is the new Ohio. That's the direction Pennsylvania is going. But as astonishing as that is, nothing compares to what's happening inside the Democrat Party as they're watching this must-win state permanently slip away from them. They are beginning to split inside their own party. Wait until you see this. Hey, gang, if you love books and you've ever seriously looked into making money from home, and I mean actually look, not just wondered about it, this is for you. Because right now, today, there are people pulling $5,000, $10,000, even $15,000 a month out of a $30 billion market you've walked past your entire life without a second thought. I'm talking about used books, and the only reason they can do it is a pricing gap sitting right in the middle of that market. Real, documented, and almost nobody's looking at it. Here's the gap. The same book, same title, same edition, same condition, the same book is worth meaningfully different amounts depending on where it's listed online. That's it. That's the whole thing. And people with no finance background, no tech background, learn to spot it, act on it, and from a laptop at the kitchen table, profit from it. Now, here's the part that got me. You never actually handle a single book. Not one. No inventory in the garage, no packing tape, no trips to the post office, no physical logistics whatsoever. The whole thing runs in your browser. You find the opportunity, you make a few clicks, and somebody else handles the fulfillment completely. And this is not a side hustle to pad the grocery budget. You heard the numbers again. People are running this full time. A number of them walked away from jobs they never even liked. So I'm hosting a free training where my special guest is going to lay out the entire system, how the gap forms, how you find it, exactly what you do the moment you got one in front of you, start to finish, no theory, no filler. Go to bkprofit.com/Turley. That's bkprofit.com/Turley. Just click the link below, type it into your browser, or scan the QR code on your screen and reserve your free seat right now. As if a collapsing registration advantage in the most important swing state in America wasn't bad enough, the Democrat Party is now facing a full-blown identity crisis at the exact same moment. I mentioned earlier James Carville, the man who ran Bill Clinton's winning 1992 campaign. He really is the closest thing the modern Democrat Party has to a legendary elder statesman. He just told Fox News he's prepared to walk away from his party entirely if someone like the far-left Marxist streamer Hassan Piker becomes a dominant voice within it.
I am not going to be in the same party with Hassan Piker. I can tell you that right now. If he becomes a force in the Democratic Party, I'm out of here. I have no intention of ever being in the same political party with that guy. Now, I think that overwhelming majority of Democrats agree with me. But this idea that we're going to seize the means of production and just go look at the DSA platform. You don't have to look any further than that. And, Jackie, it may be that the two-party system is just going to be under tremendous stress here in the coming months. I mean, you see it in with Tucker and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and on the Republican side, you see it going on right now. And I can't sit here and tell you for certain how this is going to turn out. But the one thing I can tell you for certain, Hassan Piker and James Carville are not going to be in the same political party. One of us is going to leave. It might even be me.
Wow, now that is but the latest in Carville's repeated public threats to abandon his own party. And if you don't know who this Hassan Piker is, he's a Twitch streamer clown and far-left Marxist who says absurd things like this.
The security checkpoints, I live streamed the entire process. I got stopped by a cop who thought I was like making fun of Mao Zedong, which I never would and never will. Mao Zedong is a one of the great leaders of this world. Okay, a man who changed the entire universe, the entire planet.
Yeah, so there you have it. There you have it. One of the most influential members of the modern day Democrat Party openly and publicly praising the likes of a mass murderer like Mao Zedong. And Carville isn't alone in promising to abandon Piker's Democrat Socialist Party takeover. Here's former West Virginia Governor and Senator Joe Manchin.
Heather, could you ever support a self-described socialist candidate?
No.
No way. My God, no.
And even if they have some good ideas?
I support the good ideas, but how could you support some of the crazy stuff they're for? Have you seen their platform? They're for dismantling everything that we know, whether it be the structure of government, Congress itself, or the Senate they want to get rid of. And then they start talking about all the crazy things. No police, no this, no this, no that. Are you crazy? We want a crime-free area. We have to have police for that.
Yes.
We want a strong defense. We want a strong border. But if Democrats can't say that, and they start lining up with the socialist demands of what you are to be a socialist, energy will be gone. There'll be no energy, okay? We have right now a tremendous amount of energy we're producing, and the world depends more on us than ever before. We can do more.
And Democrat after Democrat is coming out and saying literally the same thing, like Bill Maher. This is not an isolated spat, gang. It's the visible eruption of a civil war that's been brewing inside the Democrat Party now for over a year. Candidates aligned with the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, have posted a stunning run of primary victories across the map. They've won in Maine, Jersey, California, Philly. They swept New York City congressional primaries behind Mayor Zoran Mamdani's coordinated endorsements. The DSA has endorsed roughly 150 candidates this cycle alone, with 35 already winning or advancing unopposed in states from Oregon to Pennsylvania. And the polling data backs up just how deep this rift runs. A July 2026 Fox News poll found that a majority of self-identified Democrats, 52%, now hold a favorable view of socialism as compared to just 41% who still view capitalism favorably, right? The Bill Maher's of the party. That's a party split in the making. There will eventually be a reckoning between those two sides, and it's the Democrat Party that is going to suffer as a result. And so, two crises, one conclusion. Put these two stories side by side, and the picture becomes absolutely unmistakable. Democrats are losing their single most important electoral foundation in Pennsylvania in real time, while at the same time, the party's own leadership can't even agree on who should be allowed to speak for it, with 30-year veterans threatening to walk out the door rather than share a party label with these socialist streamers now driving the base. A party that can't hold its own coalition together is not a party positioned to win the most important swing state in the country, and a party that's watching its registration cushion in Pennsylvania shrink to under 26,000 voters isn't in a position to survive an internal civil war. Something is going to break. And if you're a Democrat operative watching both of these headlines land in the same week, you already know which nightmare keeps you up at night.